These characters must be destroyed. I just got finished watching this week's episode of Korra. I think it's episode 5. I don't keep track of the numbers of these episodes, so I'm sorry if I don't remember them. But yeah, I just got finished watching the 5th episode of Korra. I'm assuming it's the 5th. I'm sorry if it's wrong. And all of the characters are starting to get on my nerves. I have kind of a bit of a dislike for Mako. Mostly because of his dealings with Asami and Korra during the last season. Even though it was just as much Korra's fault, I still didn't like Mako very much because of what he did to Asami. But that's beside the point. This episode made me sympathize a lot more with Mako. And I'm going to explain why, too. Like I said, this is going to be heavy laden with spoilers. So, if you haven't watched this week's episode of Korra yet, don't watch this video. With that being said, I'm going to proceed. This week's episode, of course, springboards right off from the last episode where Korra and the the Korra crew, have headed to Republic City, and Korra is going to request the aid of the president of Republic City to get the military on their side to attack the Northern Water Tribe, which has invaded, of course, the Southern Water Tribe. So, of course, Korra is dead set on doing that. And beforehand, I don't remember how this happened. Maybe this was planned in an earlier episode, and I really just didn't remember it. But the Southern Water Tribe people that were in Republic City stage a peaceful protest where they all kind of march with their little candles or whatever. And then Avatar Korra, she leads them. And I really don't remember when the idea for this peaceful protest came about. Maybe it just... But it's possible that it was just something that happened this episode. But regardless, I'm pretty sure this was before she went to go meet with the president. And she was with the Southerners in this peaceful protest, and the Northern Water Tribe people living in Republic City obviously didn't like what they were doing. So they, I guess, counter-protested their peaceful protest. And during which time, I don't want to call it the embassy. It's not the embassy. It's this cultural place. I don't know if it's the Southern Water Tribe cultural place. It's a cultural center. And it was ignited. And obviously Mako clearly sees someone who's wearing a red uniform. Obviously a firebender. Who sets off an explosive in this building. And of course, Korra jumps straight to conclusions and assumes that it's one of the Northern Water Tribe people that did it. And even though Mako explains otherwise, that he has reason to believe otherwise. And this, I'll finish talking about the episode and then I'll talk about my gripes with it later, but he believes otherwise. And then, Varric, who, even though he's crazy, he's still my favorite character. He's still amazing, and I still loved it. I feel really bad for Asami. Asami is just pushed to the side so much, and it felt like she was shoehorned into these episodes. A lot of the plot, obviously the plot revolves more around Korra than it does any other character. And it seems like Korra is the character, Korra is the main character, and all the rest of these people are just kind of secondary. They just kind of exist and push the plot along, but they just more or less exist. Yeah, but I'm trying to think. The rest of what happened, of course, with Eska and Desna. Eska is super freaking mad, and she's angry at Korra because she believes that she stole away her husband, which of course is Bolin, and the way she's got like her wedding garb on, and she's got like the still messed up makeup from the last episode. It was brilliant. It was golden. But yeah, they are tasked by Uncle Unalaq is his name, I think. Unalaq, one of those one of the names. No, it's got an in it, because most water tribes names have an in it. So it's Unalaq, and he tells them to go and, take out Korra or something like that. So there's that. And by the end of the episode, they end up doing that, and they don't actually take out Korra, but they're attacking Korra in the ocean, while Korra, of course, she had tried to get help from the president, and he turned her down, saying, hey, we don't necessarily know the whole story. Being reasonable, like pretty much everyone in this show except Korra is. And so Korra, Barrick, and Asami, and Bolin, and all of them devise a plan. Well, really, Varric is the one who devises the plan, the ingenious plan to, instead of going to the president to get the troops, to go to the troops and get their support. And that to get Asami's company back on track, since, I wouldn't even call it the B story, I'd call it like the D story. Because her plot is forced so far down. I'd call hers the D story. So, that her company is failing, obviously, still. So they figure, advertise some products, some mecha tanks, and he's still in the process of making his movies. Varric is, anyway. And, they're throwing all this stuff together, and it's not a bad idea, honestly. And Korra approaches, Iroh. I keep wanting to call him Uncle Iroh. That's not him. She approaches Iroh, General Iroh, and he's like, yeah, let's do this thing. But of course, Korra and Mako got into this fight, because Mako said, hey, you're jumping to conclusions, you're being a jerk, She says he's being a jerk, and stuff's just, I mean, I understand why Korra is emotional, but I think that she should think a lot more rationally. But, anyway, I'll get to that. But, so Mako tells the president, after the president asks him, he tells him about Korra's plan, and when Korra goes to Iroh, who was originally very supportive and wanted to, hey, yeah, we'll totally do this, we'll be doing a training exercise and running into them and whatever, and then that's when the president busts in and like, hey, don't do what you're about to do, peace out, yo. And that was when Korra erupts, and then, yeah, Mako breaks up with Korra, and then Lin humorously comes in and recounts, Tenzin breaking up with her. And it's very hilarious. It's not very hilarious, it's just kind of funny. It's not as funny as the last episode. It was definitely interesting. One thing to note about Korra's really annoying. Korra really annoyed me in this episode. She's annoyed me a lot this season. It's because I feel like her character has regressed to the way she was halfway through season 1. Not even halfway. At the beginning of season 1. At book 1. And I feel like she has regressed. She's regressed so far back that she's just totally headstrong. And I mean, I understand it's a part of her personality, but I feel like she should think a little more rationally. It's like all of her rational thinking is completely out the window. And I mean, I can understand a little bit to an extent, because yes, these are her people that are being attacked, but I believe that she should have gotten at least all the facts before she goes and jumps to conclusions. The one thing that really annoyed me was when she went and when she was having that peaceful protest or whatever, and the building exploded, the first thing she assumed was that, oh, it's the Northern Water Tribe ones, even though the Northern Water Tribe people were all along the side of the road, and she could see all of them. But the one thing that annoyed me was the fact that she didn't even listen to what Mako had to say. Mako is a cop. Mako is the one who went and was just like trying to stop the whole mess that was going on. And she didn't even listen to what he had to say. And I feel like that was not fair to Mako. Never thought I'd say that in my life because I don't really care for Mako, but I feel like that wasn't fair to him. It wasn't fair at all. And the fights that they got into, his stance on them was legitimate. When he's just like, why does everything with you have to be about sides? Which I found was very, very interesting. Is that one thing I noticed about Aang, I'm comparing it to the old series again, is that he didn't necessarily have a side so much. Of course, he wanted to stop the Fire Nation, but it was mostly because he wanted to maintain balance. Of course, he was upset about the genocide towards his people, but he wanted to maintain balance, and that's why he did what he did. But Korra, she's just doing this all out of her inner feelings. And I just think it's ridiculous. I think a lot of what she's saying and what she's feeling is unnecessary, and I don't know. I could be on board with her to a point, but the fact that she is completely unwavering in her stance and unwilling to listen to any other outside person is just completely ridiculous to me. It made no sense in my mind. I understand that she's desperate to get these forces to help her dad, but she's not listening to reason, and the way she addressed the president made me really annoyed with her. I'm like, when I watched her go in there the first time, I'm like, how much you want to bet that either the president hates her already, or he's going to hate her by the end of this meeting? And sure enough, basically hated her by the end of the meeting, and vice versa. I feel like she should have thought things through a little more, especially if you are approaching the issue of war. You cannot approach it, especially as the Avatar, and I think that's what's bothering me the most, is that she's approaching this issue very emotionally, and like Mako, or I don't remember which character it was, said that she was not approaching it neutrally at all. And it's true. Of course, I don't think she should have approached it necessarily neutrally. I just think she should have thought things through, or at least sat there for a second and listened to what someone else had to say, rather than think that her opinion was absolute, because that's not fair. Of course, it's just me. That's just my interpretation of it. I think Mako and his interactions were completely justified. And it's interesting to note that his coworkers are jerks. So, yeah. He's a rookie cop, obviously, so I guess they're trying to, put him through the motions. But, yeah, they're jerks, and it's kind of funny. But, Mako was completely justified in all of his interactions with Korra. Their whole back and forth, their spats in between the first 2 or 3 episodes, I forget how many episodes there have been, but their back and forth spats between Korra and Mako, I didn't buy into, or at least I didn't care for. But this episode, it all came to a head, and it felt right. It felt like it should have happened that way. So it made sense to me. And, it was nice to see Lin Beifong again. She's back. I mentioned her a little earlier, but yeah. It's nice to see her back, and General Iroh. And Korra, of course, was on her way to the Fire Nation to see Iroh's mother and Zuko, who, of course, was the former Fire Lord. He's, in his 80s now, so I was really ready to see Zuko. So I guess we're not going to see him until at least next episode. But, not even that's going to happen, possibly, because on her way there, Korra was attacked by a spirit and was promptly swallowed. So we'll see where that goes next week. That was a very interesting way to end it. I didn't know where they were going to go with the ending, because Eska and Desna came and were waterbending, attacking Korra, and destroyed the boat that she was riding to the Fire Nation in, and then she goes all glowy-eyed, Avatar state, yip, and just, was, I think she could have taken him, honestly. And then this spirit comes in and I guess kind of evens the odds, and Eska and Desna kind of back up and just kind of watch what goes on. And then, Korra's swallowed, and they just kind of okay, it's over, I guess. But, yeah, Korra annoyed me. Bolin, one thing that made me laugh, though, was when he went back to the arena, and he was totally working the crowd. He's like a celebrity now. He was totally working the crowd. I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was genius. The fame is starting to go to his head, which is kind of funny. It's not going to his head in a way that it would normally go to people's heads. It's just amusing to him, and it's amusing to watch him, because he's having so much fun with it. And that's just the way Bolin's character is. He just has fun with the stuff. And I thought that was really cool. Varric's character is funny as always. He's the one who comes up with the wacky, crazy ideas. And the one who came up with the idea to just, use the forces of of the army without the president's permission. He comes up with some pretty decent ideas. He's the smart guy, obviously. Asami, of course, her company is going under. She's she seems to be a bit of a, I don't want to say a one-dimensional character. It's just that she's not important. She's really not important anymore. She's just kind of there. And if, like I said earlier, it feels like they shoehorn her into these episodes, and I feel really sorry for her because of that, because she was a really great character. She had a lot of room for emotional growth, and I feel like they just kind of threw that by the wayside in favor of this spirits plot. So I don't know. There are a lot of things that I wish that could have been slightly differently. But I mean, this whole Korra thing, I guess it works with moving the plot forward. But other than that, I don't like Korra this season, because I feel like she's the Korra that we saw last season, and I feel like that's really old, and they shouldn't have tried that again. I think she should have had some sort of emotional growth rather than being stunted the way that she has been. I understand that she's angry, but it's not the way to do it. It's just not the way to do it. And also, my little tidbit that I talked about last week with the uncle and him talking about not needing her to open the spirit portal in the north, he addresses that, and that he actually does need her to open it, and yet he just said that because he said what he thought she needed to hear. I thought that was kind of interesting. I want to know where that goes. For the future, I guess, I really want to see what's going to go on with Korra and her getting swallowed by this spirit. Strangely enough, her first instinct to try and get rid of this... Oh! But yeah, let me finish the sentence. Strangely enough, her first instinct to try and get rid of the spirit was to firebend at it, and that never works. So, I understand maybe adrenaline rush, and, she's doing whatever she can to try and... But, I mean, whatever. One thing to note is the fact that little waterbendy, spirit, glowy thing where the spirit goes away thing that Unalak does to get rid of the spirits. Korra did it. Korra was doing it, and she had almost done it, but something interrupted her. I need to watch the episode again to figure out what it is, but something stopped her from doing it, like, midway through it. And she was, of course she was in the Avatar state while she did it. But, yeah, I'm really intrigued by that practice, that waterbending practice with the spirits. Because it also goes between the, cross-bending, I guess you could say, with the elements. Which is very different than what it was before. The way they would take principles from other disciplines and incorporate that into a new bending style. Kind of like lightning redirection, where they used the waterbenders techniques, where Uncle Iroh took the waterbending techniques to make this new powerful technique. And how many other bending arts could do the same to create new styles of bending, I guess. And I want to know how this waterbending thing plays in with the spirits. But I guess we'll have to wait. Obviously, we'll have to wait until next week. I'm hoping I can see the former Fire Lord Zuko and his daughter, which the fandom has named Honora, very hilariously. I really want to know what her actual name is. Unless that is her actual name and I just don't know. But, yeah. Looking forward to next week's episode. Hoping that Korra can redeem herself and that she's not going to be this hothead for the next 2 seasons, and that we're not going to repeat the same process over and over again with her regressing back into her abrasive and annoying self. I'm hoping that we can, that she'll be able to move past this and not repeat the same thing over and over again, but like I said, we will see. And I think that's about it. This is a very long video. I just realized that I'm nearing 20 minutes. So, thanks for watching, guys. For those of you who have stayed throughout the entire thing. Let me know in the comments box what you thought about this week's episode, if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, like I said, I don't know why you're watching this video, because it was like spoiler city. But, yeah, let me know what you thought of this episode and what you think about this season, about this whole season, this whole book so far. If you like it, if you dislike it, if you haven't watched it, because you don't like it, and what you think of the characters and the character development so far. Let me know what you think. So, yeah, see you guys in the next video. Peace, love, cactus juice.